I was looking at a job posting the other day, and I have to say, just for research, I promise, it felt less like a job description and more like a wish list for, I don't know, a superhero.
Ah, the kitchen sink job description. It's practically a genre of fiction now.
It really is. You know the type. They want coding, but also Shakespearean copy, a budget of 0. And, oh, by the way, you need to be an expert video editor.
Of course.
And the word that just keeps coming up, the one they're all looking for, is the unicorn. This mythical creature who can do it all.
Right. But we're looking at some research today that argues this whole hunt for a unicorn is actually, well, it's doing massive damage.
Not just to the people getting hired, but to the companies themselves.
Exactly. And the core text we're diving into today says that companies aren't really looking for a horse with a magical horn. They're hunting for something much messier. They're hunting for octopuses.
Which is such a fantastic visual, if maybe a little disturbing. We're getting into a really sharp analysis from the Faroohz blog called the Octopus model.
And the author, Faroohz Rawashta, she's not just an observer. She has, I believe, 13 years of experience as a marketer. She's been in the trenches.
And that experience is so key here. She's pinpointing this shift in how companies hire, arguing that we've completely blurred the line between having a lean team and just a chaotic mess.
Yeah.
So the mission for this deep dive is to find that line. We're going to unpack what she calls title inflation, the disaster of the designer-marketer hybrid, and this whole octopus concept.
I think title inflation is the perfect place to start. It's something we've all seen, but she really breaks down the mechanics of it.
It's everywhere, isn't it?
It is. Farah identifies it as the first huge red flag, where companies hand out these C-suite or director-level titles for roles that are functionally mid-level, sometimes even entry-level.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second. Isn't that a good thing for the candidate?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm 24 and I can put marketing director on my resume, doesn't that help me?
You think so, right. But she argues it's a trap. A manipulative cost-cutting tactic is her exact phrase.
Manipulative how?
Well, think about the economics. If I call you a director, I can stroke your ego, make you feel like you've skipped a few rungs on the ladder. But in exchange, I'm probably paying you a salary that is way below the market rate for a real director.
So the title is the compensation.
The title is the compensation. It's a vanity metric to get around proper salary bands. But the trap is what happens next. Say you spend 2 years as the marketing director at a tiny startup.
Right. You're doing everything.
You're doing everything, sure. But then you go to apply for a director role at, say, a major corporation.
And we look at your resume and see you've never actually managed a real budget or a team of more than, well, one.
Precisely. You have the title, but you don't have the foundational experience that the market expects to go with that title. So you end up unhireable at that level, and you look overqualified for the level you actually belong in. It creates this really awkward resume gap.
That makes so much sense. You're inflating the currency of the title until it's basically worthless.
Yeah.
And Farah points out this specific absurdity she calls the senior paradox.
Yes, this is one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. She talks about the huge number of senior roles in departments where there are no juniors.
Which just linguistically doesn't make any sense. Seniority has to be relative to something.
It has to be. If you're the senior marketing manager, the whole point is that you manage strategy while a junior person handles the day-to-day execution.
But in the octopus model, the senior is doing the strategy, the execution, the admin.
And probably the coffee run. Senior has just come to mean experienced enough to do everything alone.
Or maybe old enough that we feel bad calling you an intern.
Basically, it's an illusion of a hierarchy. And speaking of language, she really drills down on the word executive. I think this is a fascinating point.
Yeah, I see marketing executive, just assume it's a standard mid-level job.
We all do. But she highlights the root of the words. An executive executes. A manager manages. Historically, an executive role was about carrying out tasks within a strategy set by someone else.
But now those wires are completely crossed.
Totally. Farah points out that we have executives who are expected to write the entire brand strategy from scratch.
So the person who's supposed to be turning the wrench is now also designing the entire engine.
And that's a huge problem. Strategy and execution are two different brain states. One requires a long-term, big-picture view, and the other requires you to be down in the weeds, focusing on details.
And when you force one person to do both, one of them is going to suffer.
Usually both. Which leads us right into the next layer of this mess, the specific hybrid role that Farah just calls a failed experiment, the designer and marketer.
This one feels personal in her writing. She seems to really take issue with mashing these two roles together.
She does. And she uses a specific case study from Jordan to make her point. She saw this trend where it became the default hiring practice. Companies just stopped hiring designers and marketers separately. They only hired hybrids.
Okay, so what happened? Did it work?
According to Farah, it nearly broke the industry there. And it wasn't just that people were overworked, it was that the quality of the work just plummeted.
Let's break that down. Why does the quality drop so much? I mean, with all the new tools, shouldn't a marketer be able to just, whip up a graphic?
And that's the trap. Whipping up a graphic is not design with a capital D. Designers are trained in visual communication, in color theory, in typography. Marketers are trained in consumer psychology and data.
So when you force the designer to be a marketer,
You get strategies that might be beautiful, but they make no commercial sense. You get a campaign that looks like a piece of art, but doesn't actually sell anything because the designer isn't trained in sales funnels.
and when you flip it,
Mm-hmm.
the marketer forced to be a designer.
That's where her analysis gets a little scathing. When marketers are forced to design, they don't magically learn color theory. They just lean on tools, AI, templates, that kind of thing.
The canvification of everything.
Yeah.
I feel like we're seeing that a lot.
It's exactly that. And Farah uses this metaphor that I found really striking. She says the output from these marketers forced to design looks like the artistic endeavors of a toddler.
Wow. The artistic endeavors of a toddler.
Yeah.
That's pretty harsh.
It is harsh, but let's unpack it. Why does a toddler's drawing look the way it does? It's colorful, sure, it's expressive, but it lacks intent.
There's no structure.
No structure.
Yeah.
A toddler draws just to draw. A professional designer designs to solve a very specific visual problem.
So the marketer using AI is just assembling shapes that look right without the underlying logic of a brand identity.
Exactly. And the broader consequence of this, which the article highlights, is homogenization.
Everything starts to look the same.
Right. If every Octopus employee is using the same AI prompts because they're rushing to get 5 posts done before lunch, every brand starts to look identical. We gained the speed of the tools, but we lost the professional integrity of the craft.
It's the difference between fast food and a home-cooked meal. One is fast and consistent, but it's not real nutrition.
And if you're a brand, looking like everyone else is a death sentence. But companies do it because on paper, they saved a salary.
Which brings us to the main event. The Octopus model itself. This goes way beyond just merging two roles.
This is the one-person department. Farah breaks down the anatomy of this role. It's a request for a single person to be a strategist, a designer, a copywriter, and a media buyer.
I want to pause on that list. Strategist, designer, copywriter, media buyer. In a normal agency, that's 4 different people.
Often sitting in 4 different rooms, and for good reason. Think about the conflict between a creative copywriter and a data-driven media buyer.
One is art, one is math.
Exactly. One is asking, how do we make this emotionally resonant? The other is asking, how do we optimize the cost per click? Those goals are often in direct tension. In a healthy team, they argue a little. That friction creates balance.
But if you're the Octopus,
You're just fighting with yourself, and you're so exhausted you just choose the path of least resistance. You can't be deep in a spreadsheet analyzing ad spend and then 5 minutes later be in a flow state writing beautiful emotional copy. The context switching alone just kills your productivity.
so why do companies think this is even possible? Is it just ignorance?
Some of it is, I'm sure, but Farah argues a lot of it is something she calls cultural gaslighting.
That's a heavy term. How is it gaslighting?
Well, think about the language in the job descriptions. We need a hustler. We have a competitive culture, looking for someone who wears many hats.
You must work well under pressure.
Right. They frame this structurally impossible job as a test of your character. If you can't do it, it's not because the job is broken, it's because you aren't passionate enough.
That's the gaslighting. Telling you the environment is totally normal and you're the one who's the problem.
Exactly. The source is blunt about it. This isn't a competitive culture. This is setting people up to fail. You literally cannot succeed. You will drop one of the plates. Maybe you hit your media budget, but the design looks terrible. Or the copy is great, but the strategy is non-existent.
And yet I feel like I see candidates wearing this octopus status as a badge of honor. Look how much I can juggle.
And that's the real tragedy. The octopus metaphor is so perfect because it's just flailing, it's all movement, but no real progress. You're just reacting to things all day, emails, resizing a logo, posting something, but you aren't actually building anything.
You're just treading water.
Treading water while holding heavy weights. And this leads to the most critical takeaway from her entire analysis. If there's one sentence for you to remember, it's this. You don't need a unicorn. You need a functioning department.
You don't need a unicorn. You need a functioning department. It sounds so simple when you say it like that.
But it completely flips the script. It puts the responsibility back on the organization. It forces a business owner to ask, do I have a business model that can support marketing? Or am I just hoping for a miracle worker?
But what about the early stage startup with no money? They can't hire 4 people. Are they just doomed?
That's a fair question. She's not saying you can't be lean, but there's a huge difference between a generalist and an octopus.
What's the distinction there?
A generalist understands the broad strokes, but prioritizes. They might hire a freelance designer for a big project. They might focus on doing one channel really well and ignore the others. An octopus is forced to do everything, but poorly.
So a generalist creates a strategy that fits their capacity. An octopus is given a Fortune 500 strategy and told to do it alone.
Precisely. It's about aligning expectations with reality. And for the employee, it's about protecting your own career.
Right, we touched on the resume gap, but what happens to your skills after 3 years as an octopus?
You become a master of none. In a world that's valuing deep expertise, more and more specialized data skills, high-level brand strategy being just okay at everything is a really dangerous place to be.
You're not getting better at any one thing. You're just maintaining.
You're surviving.
Mm-hmm.
And Farooh's point is that this damages the whole industry. It treats marketing not as a profession with distinct disciplines, but as just a bucket of tasks anyone can do.
It devalues the craft.
It erodes the hierarchy that exists for a reason. And I don't mean a power hierarchy. I mean the functional workflow, the checks and balances.
Right. If there's nobody to check your work or challenge your ideas, you're not growing. You're just outputting.
Exactly.
So we've unpacked a lot. Title: Inflation is a financial trap. The designer-marketer hybrid creating a quality crisis. And the burnout engine that is the octopus model.
It's a pretty sobering look at the modern workplace, yeah.
It is, but I think it's also empowering. It helps you read between the lines. So as we wrap up, what's the actionable takeaway here? If you're a hiring manager, what's the move?
I think the move is honesty. Look at your job description. Are you really asking for a unicorn because you can't afford a department? If so, scale the role back to fit one person's actual capacity. Be realistic.
Don't hire a captain if you don't even have a ship.
Exactly. And if you're the candidate, count the arms.
Count the arms.
Yeah, read the job description and count the distinct professions they're listing. Strategist, that's 1, designer. 2, copywriter. 3, video editor. 4, if you get past 2, you need to realize what you're walking into.
You're not walking into a dynamic growth opportunity. You're walking into a meat grinder.
And you have to ask yourself if that really serves your long-term goals. Are you building a portfolio of excellence or just a portfolio of survival?
That's the key. Faroohz Rawashde ends her analysis with this question that I think is the perfect place to leave things. It's really a question of identity.
It cuts right to the core of your professional self-worth.
She asks, are you being hired for your expertise, or are you just the latest arm on a corporate octopus?
It's something to really think about. Are you building a career, or are you just filling a cost-cutting gap?
Don't be an arm, be a professional. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure. See you next time.